these things, I get attacked for being a misogynist. Because
Well, how is that? I think misogynist means someone who hates women.
Correct, because I have conversations with women who are, let's say, I've done some podcasts with women who are very promiscuous. And I've explained to them that since the dawn of human time, in every single society across the planet, promiscuity in females has been frowned upon.
Yes, that's true.
It hasn't been frowned upon in men, but it has been in women. I explained
in a big way.
In a big way. In many parts of the world to this day, you can't get married if you're not a virgin. I'm not saying all women should be virgins. I was explaining to her that female promiscuity has always been hated. In every holy book, it's disliked. You've bought into this new think the last 10 years, and you seem to think it's empowering. And I would argue that it's not empowering. And I sat there and had a conversation with this promiscuous woman, and I said to her that she is doing herself a disservice, and she's dishonoring herself, and she's never going to be happy or fulfilled jumping from bed to bed. And I was told that this makes me misogynistic because women are empowered and they can make whatever choices they want, and I'm insecure to believe that a woman who slept with 300 men is somehow changed mentally, and her ability to bond and love a man has been affected by that.
But it is. That's true.
Well, unfortunately, you're going to end up in a Romanian jail cell for being misogynist.
No, I mean, I love women, and so I've seen it, and that is true what you said.
The thing that's interesting is that women intrinsically understand this.
Yes.
Because if you see a woman dislike another woman, what's the first name she calls her? Slut. It's the first thing a girl says to a girl she doesn't like. It's the biggest insult that comes to her mind is that she's promiscuous, right? So it's interesting, but I've been called a misogynist for that. And then I've been on the internet for a long time. I've made some jokes. I've made some videos, and people don't understand satire or comedy. There's one that they keep repeating. I made a joke. Next to my bed, I had a Glock, like many people do, and then I had a knife next to my bed, and there was a comedic skit where it said, "The girl caught me cheating, and she picked up the knife, and I slapped it out of her hand and said, 'You still love me?'" And they cut the bit out where I talked about the girl attacking me with the knife. They just took the bit where I say, "Slap the knife out of her hand, you're the boss, da-da-da," and he's a misogynist, and it's just taken out of context. And that's another thing that's happened to me, and I am aware of this, and like I said, I take absolute self-accountability, but the way you make jokes and make videos when you get 100 views is very different than the way you would make a joke or make a video when you get millions of views. And when they're trying their best to they'll look at a 4-hour video and find 3 seconds. I'll give you an example of it, where it hurt me very recently. I did a podcast where I was discussing corruption. I discussed which country I believe is the most corrupt country in the world. They start a lot of wars. And the answer to that by the person I was discussing it with is, well, you live in Romania, Romania is corrupt. I said, Romania is corrupt, correct. But I don't think there's certainly corruption, but they don't start monumental wars which end up in millions of deaths. I would argue that their corruption, because a policeman stops me and I can bribe my way out of a parking ticket or a speeding ticket, is far less destructive. So we discussed this at length for hours. They cut out the bit where I said Romania is corrupt and showed it to the judge. That kept me in jail. Ooh. Yeah. So, and that's my problem in a nutshell. Long format content, people will find a little bit, edit it up, and try and attack me with it. And that's where this whole misogynistic thing has come from. It's either from me arguing with promiscuous women on podcasts designed for promiscuous women to argue their point, and I destroy them so flawlessly that I'm a bad person, or something taken out of context. And it's insane because, like I said, the amount of support I get from women is actually monumental. The amount of mothers who write to me and say that their son's doing better than ever. The amount of women who write to me and say that their boyfriend's doing better than ever. The amount of women who love me and just want to meet me. This idea that I'm hated by women is probably the biggest lie about this whole story. I don't want to brag, but I can assure the world that's absolutely not true. I had thousands of letters of support from women. In fact, there was one girl, never met her. She would play love songs from her car outside the jail. So she'd put the music on and play love songs. And I managed to tweet out via my cousin the songs I wanted to listen to. Whitesnake, Is This Love? And she, and she'd play them for me. Never met her. Don't know who she is.
So you're in a Romanian prison cell requesting Whitesnake on the radio in the car outside.
Correct. And some girl would pull up and put
it's kind of a surreal moment.
Put her speakers on full and play me my love songs for a good 3 or 4 minutes before the police would come and make her move. I got a song a day. But yeah, this idea that I'm universally hated by women is insanity. That's not true.
So you said you're a mixed race. Your dad was black, your mom was white English. What do you make of the race conversation in the United States?
I think it's deliberately, they're trying to put fuel on the fire and they're deliberately trying to accelerate division. This is what I believe. I think that if a black billionaire and a white billionaire meet somewhere, I don't think there's much conversation about race. I don't think...
No!
I don't think there's any racism.
No.
Interesting, no?
They're not that interested in the topic, actually.
They don't care.
Right.
But amongst the lower echelons of the populace, they seem very interested in trying to turn us all on each other.
Yes.
I wonder why that is. And I wonder why they deliberately make laws and push media matters which are designed to do exactly that. I wonder why that is. We can sit, and I have my own theories. But I think what certain people in the world would be most afraid of is the white people of a certain economic class and the black people of a certain economic class shaking hands and saying, this is bullshit. I think that would be very intimidating for them. So it's certainly accelerated. And it's also very interesting because as a mixed race person, I will also sit and state, I don't look particularly black. Most people can't guess where I'm from. I've had more discrimination against me for being a straight male than I've ever had for my skin color. I've had more people look at me or have problems with me purely because of my sexual orientation and my generally masculine essence than I've ever had anybody say anything about my skin color ever. And I'll also say, if somebody has a real problem with my skin color, who cares? If someone's that ignorant, who gives a shit? Like, it's also, I do find it amazing they manage to psyop people into being so brutally offended by it. If someone were to come up to me and say, you're not white, I'd say, correct. Have a nice day. Who cares? It's amazing how they've got everyone wrapped up in this. But yeah, it's certainly accelerated. Another thing that's very interesting about it, especially in America, a lot of Americans are insulated to, I feel like, world history.
Yeah, I've noticed.
You know, they're like, oh, slavery, slavery, slavery. Slavery was everywhere. Every country had slaves. Arabs had slaves, Chinese had slaves, Aztecs had slaves. Everybody had slaves.
The American Indians had slaves.
Everybody did.
A lot of slaves.
Correct. And they're like, oh, we've been enslaved. Everyone was enslaved. Unfortunately, the world wasn't such a nice place, right? And there's been ethnic divisions in every single country on earth since the dawn of time. There still is in many countries in the world today. They believe this is a uniquely American issue. And I would strongly argue that, one, it's completely and utterly not. And two, I think that if you are black, white, Asian, I think if you stand up, self-respect, work hard, try your best, turn up on time, firm handshake, don't make excuses for anything, don't look for an easy way out, no matter what your skin color is, in America or England or any other Western nation, I think you can be extremely successful. I don't think anything's stopping you.
That's not the message you get from, say, Kamala Harris, who's also mixed race. Her dad was Jamaican, her mom was Indian.
Yeah.
But race is really at the center of her identity and her politics. What do you make of, say, Kamala Harris?
Well, let's look at why they purport the idea that depression is so powerful and that you can just catch it from the sky and now you're permanently depressed no matter what happens to you and there's nothing you can do about it and you can't improve your life and you can't be a better person, right? It's that self-limiting belief. I think by also pushing this racism argument, it's also very much the same thing. I think if you adopt that mindset, if you wake up and you're a particular color, you're purple, and you believe purple people can't make it, what's your chance of making it? Zero.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what's so destructive about it. This is what I'll even argue when I argue this point with people and they try and say, oh, but this happens, and they pull out these statistics and all this garbage from the Matrix. I say, listen, even if the world's racist against purple people, the best thing you can do is be such an exceptional purple person that they need you, they need you. The only answer is hard work. The only answer is self-accountability, masculine essence, honor, dignity, making your ancestors proud of you because you hold the same last name as them. The answer is the same regardless anyway. But when people like Kamala are pushing this racism agenda, they're trying to say to people effectively, you'll never be anything, and you don't stand a chance of ever being anything. And I think that makes people who aren't anything feel a little bit better about themselves. It's cope. And that's the only fans she has left, are losers who she's told it's okay to be a loser because there's no way you could have not been a loser. And I will argue you could have been something a lot more than that. And you shouldn't listen to anybody who tells you not going to be a loser. If someone were to come to me and say, Andrew, you're mixed race, you're from a single mother household, you're never going to be rich. I'll say, watch me. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Who are you? So everything she's saying is, one, wrong. Two, it's destructive to believe in. Three, I think it's her last hope at having any kind of fan at all because she's largely incompetent. I don't think I've ever heard her put a compendious, coherent sentence together. And perhaps also, maybe that's the reason why she leans so heavily on race, because she's not impressed